Substitutions. They're when we take an existing chord and imply a different chord of our choice over them. It even allows us horn players to think more harmonically to generate more spice within our solos. Throughout many decades of jazz recordings, some substitutions are so common that they are now a staple part of jazz vocabulary that every jazz musician should know. In today's video, we're going to look at 5 different substitutions and break down some phrases that demonstrate them in action. All of the material we covered today comes from our resource here at Jazz Lesson Videos entitled 80 Substitution Licks. In it, you'll find 80 different phrases through 10 important chord substitutions commonly found in jazz. All of the material is written in 12 keys for you, and it even comes with backing tracks and recordings of all 80 phrases. If you're interested in the full PDF package, you can find the link to download in the description below and use code JAZZ5 for $5 off. So let's get into the first substitution that can spice up your lines. This one's none other than the classic tritone substitution. Let's hear a phrase that uses this substitution found on page 1 of the book, then we'll break it down. So what's going on here? We start off with the chromatic approach tone to the root of our D minor 7 chord, and then we go a scale tone above and return. So all this is a decoration around this root D. And then we play a decoration of a backwards 1-2 flat 3 5 cell. Then we voice lead to the sharp 11 of our 5-7 chord, and this begins our tritone substitution. A tritone substitution is when we take the dominant chord and simply shift it up a tritone interval. So looking at this G7, we shot the root up a tritone, or you can think of it as shooting up a sharp 4th or flat 5th, whichever is easiest to you. Now we're soloing as if this chord is literally a D flat 7. So playing in the implied chord of this D flat 7, we're playing a 1-2-3-5 shape and return to the 1 up an octave. Then we chromatically walk our way down to the flat 7 and return back up to the root one more time. Now we voice lead up a half step into the 9th of our 1 chord, and we're back to thinking in the original key. We play the 9th as a quarter note, and then go down this E minor upper structure, the structure found from the 3rd of a major 7 chord. Then we jump up to the root and play an enclosure around the 7th. Then we walk down with scale tones to the 5th, finally ending this line. Let's hear this entire phrase one more time. Great, so the second substitution of today's video is going to be the side slip 2-5. First, let's hear a phrase found on page 29 that demonstrates this substitution, then we'll break down what's going on. So what's going on here? First, let's skip to our 5 chord. We're going to compress this 5 chord into a quick 2-5. So as you see below, we've implied the chords F sharp minor 7 and B7 within this one measure. Now the preceding measure, our 2 chord, we're going to imply this as the same short 2-5, but this time up a half step. So we're approaching a quick 2-5 with a quick 2-5 up a half step. So given these parameters, our line starts off with a permutation of the G minor 7 arpeggio. Flat 3, root 5, flat 7. Then we voice lead down to the 3rd of our implied C7 chord. Then we simply go up the E half diminished upper structure, which gives us this chord's 3, 5, flat 7, and 9. And now we voice lead down a half step, and we're on the 5th of our implied F sharp minor 7 chord. We walk down to its minor 3rd, then we play an enclosure with a chromatic note from below and a diatonic note above, targeting the 5th of our B7, F sharp. Now with a nice interval skip, we jump all the way up to a diatonic approach note that targets the 3rd of our B7, and we keep walking down the scale till we reach the 5th of our 1 chord, B. From here, we simply arpeggiate down the E major triad and then go up to its 6th. And for a satisfying resolution, we'll play the 9th and resolve on the major 7th. Let's hear all this one more time. Nice, so the third substitution today is called the Ladybird Turnaround. First, we'll play a phrase from page 62 that uses this substitution, then we'll break it all down. Alrighty, what do we have here? So we're taking a 1, 6, 2, 5 chord progression, and now besides the one chord, we're going to take every single chord and shift it up a tritone. And then we'll change the chord quality all to major 7s. This is the Ladybird turnaround. It's also called the Tadd Dameron turnaround, as Tadd Dameron is the composer of the tune Ladybird, in which this turnaround is featured at the very end of the harmonic chord progression. So the phrase itself, on our one chord, we start on the third and go up an F minor triad upper structure. Then we voice lead down a half step to our implied E major 7, and we just walk up the E major 7 arpeggio. Then we voice lead down to the major third of A major 7, and continually chromatically walk our way down till we target the fifth of the implied D major 7. And now we play this cool melodic cell. 5, 3, 5, 6. And on the next chord, we're going to play this exact same melodic cell, but because it resolves down a half step, we're going to play this one down a half step too. 5, 3, 5, 6 again. And simply because I thought it sounded cool, we play the third, then the ninth to end off the phrase. Let's hear all this one more time. Cool, so the fourth substitution today is going to be the backdoor substitution. Let's play a phrase from page 15 that uses this substitution, then we'll break it down. So what do we have here? The backdoor substitution is when we take our 2, 5 and change it to a 4 minor 7 to a flat 7 dominant 7. And this dominant chord's root moves up a whole step into the root of our 1 chord. This is a very common and beautiful substitution in jazz. So the line itself, we start off with a B flat major 7 upper structure, where we change it to a pivot chord, meaning the last 3 notes are shifted down an octave. Then we walk down to the root of this implied chord and just simply walk up the scale. At the end of our walk, we land on the ninth of our implied C7 chord, and we chromatically crawl our way down till we get to the flat 7. From here, we have a slight embellishment and simply walk down the arpeggio of C dominant 7. This lands us in a spot where we can perfectly voice lead up a half step, landing us on the major 7 of our D major 7 chord. Now we're back in the sound of the original key, and with this flurry of triplets, we're going to stair step our way up till we get to the ninth and walk our way up one more time and resolve on this third, jump down to the fifth, and end off with the root. Let's hear all this one more time. Awesome, so the final substitution we'll cover today is the matrix cycle substitution. Let's play a phrase from page 47 that demonstrates this in action, then we'll break it down. So what's going on here? These implied chords are substituting a progression that comes directly from giant steps, and we call this progression the matrix cycle. And this cycle is based on modulating in major thirds. So if you take a look at these implied chords, we start off in F sharp major 7, and then we modulate down a major third to D major 7, and then we modulate again down a major third to B flat major 7. This chord progression can be found in the pickup chord to measure 1 of giant steps and all the measures till we get to measure 4. So in this phrase, we start off on the 2 minor 7 and then go up a half step, and then we begin that giant steps chord sequence. As for the line itself, we've got an arpeggio from the 5th of our C minor 7 chord, giving us a G minor 7 upper structure. Or you could just think of this as the C minor 7's 5, flat 7, 9, and 11. Then we voice lead down a whole step into the ninth of our implied C sharp dominant 7 chord. And we simply go down this arpeggio, which is an E sharp half diminished, or you could just simply think of this as a rootless C sharp dominant 9. So we have a 9, flat 7, 5, and third. Then we voice lead up a half step to the root of our implied F sharp dominant 7 chord. And we simply go up the triad, 1, 3, 5, and then walk down to the fourth, voice leading us onto the root of the A7 implied chord here. Right here we play this popular melodic cell, which is to start on a root, in this case A, chromatically walk our way down to the flat 7, and then come back to the root. Then we dip down onto the third of our implied D major 7 chord and play this nice sounding shape. It's really a B sus structure starting on its 5th. I prefer to think of this as an F sharp minor 11 structure, where we take the 5th C sharp and replace it with the 11 instead, B. But no matter how you look at it, it does give you this implied D major 7s, 3, 5, 6, and 9. And this allows us to voice lead with a half step onto the root of the implied F7 chord here. And we're simply going to play a pivot arpeggio of these chord tones, which is when we take an arpeggio, 1, 3, 5, 7, and move the 3, 5, 7 down an octave. With this, we voice lead again a half step, but down this time onto the third of our arrival destination chord, B flat major 7, the 1 chord. Now we're on the third, and we play one of my favorite shapes, the 1, 3, 4, 5. But starting on the third and playing it backwards till we resolve on the third once more. Let's hear all this one more time. Alrighty everyone, that concludes today's video. I hope this video helped, and again, if you're interested in downloading the full 80 substitution licks resource, don't forget that you can use the code JAZZ5 for $5 off. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, please consider leaving a like and subscribe below, as it really helps this channel grow. Till next time, everyone.